everybody. Good morning. Yeah. Sleepy girl. My sleepy girl. Shh, shh, shh. Shh, shh, shh. I don't want to be invited to your live, random person who I don't know. She slept really well, Avery. Thank you. Yesterday was a good day for her sleep-wise, and so was last night. So that's nice, right? What a win for all of us. At least for me, right? Morning. She was also asleep until just a second ago, so I'm hoping that she falls back asleep. Hey, Nikki. I know she's getting so big. I completely agree. It's crazy. But that all being said, I am told that she... Morning, Samantha. Did you see that I did upload looking for you? I am told that she looks much bigger on camera than in real life. That is what I have been told by people who have seen both. Oh my gosh, why can't I open this book? Oh my gosh. What is happening? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. She's almost 5 months. She'll be 5 months this week. Something is over here. Why can't we open her milk? Oh gosh, that was really difficult. Yeah, she'll be 5 months on the 25th. So, you know. Big girl, but not too big. She's actually fairly petite compared to other babies her age. When we go to baby when we go to baby meetups and stuff, she's definitely not anywhere near the biggest. She is. Can you make slime? Do you mean, do I know how to make slime, or will I make slime right now? I do know how to make slime, and no, I will not make slime right now, is the answer to both questions. If you look at the info on the live, it says it's book club. So that would answer your question without you having to ask. In the future, if you ever want to know what kind of live someone's doing, you can always look in that little section, and like it says, this is book club, and it tells you what we're reading. Hey, Jamantha. So that's how you know if it's going to be a slime live or not. Good morning. Yes, good morning, good morning. Fox said good morning to you. Yeah. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. We've danced all night through, but I wish you would go to sleep. You were taking a good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay awake. Good morning, my darling. To you. Susan, did you get your stuff figured out for your TSA thing and everything? I can't believe. Susan, also, did we make a note to pause your membership for the months you're gone? Or are you not going to be gone more than a month? I was at the pool for 5 hours yesterday. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Oh, you're making sad face like it's not fantastic. She's almost 5 months, Desiree. She will be 5 months on the 25th. Yeah. You know what I think it is? I think people think that she's bigger than she is because I think people think I'm bigger than I am. And I mean that in like height and stuff. We did make a note to pause it a bunch of weeks. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure I couldn't remember if we wrote that down or not. I wanted to do that for you. A lot of people think I'm taller than I am, so I think that lends to people thinking she's bigger than she is. I keep doing this because I can't see the writing at the bottom here with all the lighting here. So I think that's what it is. People always assume that I'm tall, and so then they think that she's bigger against my body. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But I am not tall, and she is not big. I'm just tired. That's fair. I mean, the sun always makes tired. It does track, yeah. Well, because people always say that. What? You had a baby? um, yeah, because like when people see her in real life, they're like, wait, she's so small. I thought she was bigger on camera. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. We're just both kind of small. Yeah. Yeah. Big Johnny girl. Is she wearing Precious Moments suit? No, it's called Bamboo and, hold on. It's called Bam and Stitch. I got it at the farmer's market. That's why I have this readily available, because they gave me this with it, and I was like, oh, I should look them up. Bam and Stitch. It's little cute little elephants. Cute little elephants. How precious is that? Yeah. Speaking of precious moments, precious moments. I feel like I could also be the fact that she looks so tall. She does. She does look so tall, but the thing, hi baby. The thing is, she's only 75th percentile even for height. That's her biggest percentile. But I know, I wish they made adult clothes. She is. She's not actually that tall compared to the other babies her age. Yeah, she's just barely over the middle mark. The flippy feet are the best. No slip and flip. They're the best. You need both, right? Yeah. Okay. She'll be taller. Yes, she'll be taller than me and shorter than her dad. That's exactly right. She'll be an in-between. Will you be an in-between, my nugget? Yeah, you'll be in between us, huh? Yeah. Is someone's seat popping today? Yeah. I'm gonna pop your seat. She just wants to be on camera every day. I don't know what you're talking about, Sloth. It's an everyday thing for this one. It's an everyday thing. Yes. I know. She wants to see mom in the camera too. You know what the thing of it is, though? It's so interesting. She's totally a FOMO baby, Tiffany. You know, it's weird. But every day, my decision to not show her face is like solidified by things that I hear. I can't talk about it too fully, but I found out just this past week that someone I know is related to someone who uses photographs in a way that is not appropriate, you know? And I was like, oh my God, I know this person, you know? And I was like, wow, every day there's a new reason not to show her face to anybody. Yeah, big yikes, you're telling me, Sloth, you're telling me. Are you being a wiggly worm? You should be sleeping. You should be sleeping, my angel. I cut ties with people because they were friends with someone like that. Yeah, same, Susan. But like, you know, we found out after, I mean, it was last week, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, it wasn't her, of course, obviously, because we don't show her face, but someone else's kids, you know? So that's why I'm like, you know what? Every day is a better reason not to show her face. Aw, Beans, baby, I just want the coffee. Do you think mommy can have it? It's weird how many people are like that and have no idea. Right? You would have no idea. You would have no idea. You're 100% correct. Which is, Has anyone read Lights Out? No, but it is on my list. It was highly suggested to me by a lot of people. So it is on my, it's on my Libby. Have you? No, ever sure. Yeah, exactly, Jade. That's exactly right. And I that's why I'm careful. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's very good. You liked it a lot. That's good. I have not read it, but you finished it in about 2 days. Wow. Okay, we're sitting down for a second so we can put the phone in the tripod. What is wrong with you? Well then. Sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to drop you. That's what I heard, Naisa. That's what I heard. Okay. Okay, well that was a trial and a tribulation. I'm sorry, Naisa. I didn't mean to hurt you. You know that. You know I would never hurt you on purpose. But, you know, sometimes things happen. Okay, she is so wiggly today, which means she's not going to let me sit down. But you know what that means? We can just do standing book club, which is totally fine. As long as we get to do it, we get to do it. I'm sorry. I said I was sorry. I didn't mean to drop you. Listen, as we learned yesterday from the video, the comments that you all left on the video where we dropped her toy, people drop phones on their faces all the time. It happens. I didn't mean to, Nikki. It was an accident. And it wasn't a throw, it was a drop. Okay, I need coffee. Ask me why I went in an entire circle to do that. Do you guys see that? What is wrong with me? I was like, how do I do this? How do I go around and around? You didn't get dropped because you were late? Very good, very good. I almost dropped my phone on my face getting my hair processed. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? That would have been bad. Into the dye. It goes, your hair looks great, by the way, Jen. Your hair looks great. I forgive you. Thank you. I forget. Yeah, I did need the coffee. That's right. I can't remember the author's name. It's a blue and black covered Ray. I can look it up for you. She wants the coffee. That's what I don't need her to have. Brain activity is less when coffee is required. Yes, it's true. It is true. Nevesa L. Allen. Very nice name. Okay. Let's get the book. Ugh. Baby, it'd be great if you would go back to sleep. You really need the rest. It's your nap time. Her hair is growing, Karen. Yeah, it has been growing pretty well. Obviously, this is the spot from like where she lays in the crib, and most babies have that, but look at how much it's growing everywhere else, you know? I hope that patch grows in soon. Hers isn't as bad as some babies. Some babies go completely bald in the back. She obviously didn't. It's super dark. Her hair's my color. This is how my hair was when I was a little girl, this color, but I had way more hair than she has. But she has like this color hair, essentially. This black up here is what it will be, probably, because her eyebrows are coming in dark. So she's gonna have dark hair. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, maybe her hair will change color and be like her dad's. I'm like, with black eyebrows? You really think she's gonna have red hair with black eyebrows? That would be odd. It would look weird. Don't lie. It would look really weird if she had black eyebrows and red hair. It'd be strange. It'd be strange, huh, baby? Okay. Okay. You want to take a nap? It'd be great if you did. Yeah, I thought you were gonna. You were already sleeping. I even put you in the sling while you were already asleep. I didn't even put you down. I just put it over both of us. Maybe it'll change and be pink. Well, yeah. Maybe it'll change and be pink. I like it. Pink with black eyebrows is a better look. Okay. Part 3 is called The Peacekeeper. Guys, part 2 ended crazily, right? It's insane to think that he won the Hunger Games, right? Well, he didn't win the Hunger Games. Lucy Gray won the Hunger Games. And he's the mentor, and he should be going to basically get a party and a prize. And they whisked him away. We definitely didn't Rainbow Wait for her. They whisked him away to be a peacekeeper. Where is he gonna go? What's he gonna do? Crazy. Chapter 21. Coriolanus leaned his temple against the glass window, trying to absorb any bits of coolness that it might have retained. The stifling train car had just cleared when half a dozen of his fellow recruits piled out at District 9, alone at last. He'd been on the train for 24 hours without a moment of privacy. Yeah. Wait, have I missed that much that she has a baby now? Oh, apparently. She's almost 5 months. So yeah, the full baby, full 5-month baby right here. With the forward motion was often interrupted by long, unexplained waits. With the fitful travel and the jabbering of the other enlistees, he hadn't slept a wink. Instead, he feigned sleep in an attempt to dissuade anyone from talking to him. Perhaps he could nap now and then awake from this nightmare that seemed, by its tenacity, to actually be his real life. He rubbed his scabby cheek with the stiff scratchiness of his cuff and his new peacekeeper shirt, only reinforcing his hopelessness. I know, I can't even believe that. I was thinking about that yesterday. So do you guys want to hear something crazy before we continue? My husband's coworker had a baby in November? I don't know. One of the two. It's not my baby. I don't have to remember other people's babies' birthdays. Last fall, my husband's coworker had a baby. And yesterday, we found out they're having another one. Needless to say, come fall, my husband is going to be working extra again, just like last fall. So many babies. So many babies. 2 babies in 1 year. 2 babies in 1 year. I mean, do they know how it happened, Nikki? What kind of a question is that? I mean, I know what you're saying. It's too many babies for 1 year. It's too many babies for 1 year. Yeah. Each baby needs its own year. You know? A full year for you, all on your own. At least. Maybe more. Naisa, they claimed they weren't. My first one was in April of 6, my second was May of 7. You got over the year, though. You got over the year. They're going to be just under a year. Like by 2 weeks. Listen, it's going to be fine. But for my husband, it's not going to be fine. Because he has to do extra work while the other guy's away on leave. Okay. So, anyway. Back to reading. What an ugly place, he thought dully as the train chugged its way through District 9. The concrete buildings, flaking, painting, and misery, baked in the relentless afternoon sun. And how much uglier District 12 had the likelihood of being with its additional coat of coal dust. All right, there we go. I know, right, Tiffany? The boys are 16 months apart, and that's because the first one took up. Yeah, exactly. No, of course, right. This was different. Theirs didn't. They're lying to our faces via you saying they weren't. They told him directly that they weren't. They told him directly. And I was like, that is something they didn't need to share with us, but here we are. So what we just found out is that Coriolanus is going to be a peacekeeper for District 12. Can you not put your face in there and suffocate? What do you think? Do you think we could properly have you positioned so that you're breathing properly? What do you think? Wouldn't that be fun for mommy and for you? How about if you just stay up here and don't bury your face? What do you think? You know, this is mommy's whole thing. You staying alive, that's literally the goal. It's the whole goal. You stay alive. That's it. It's the whole thing. Literally, Naisa, I'm not joking. He was like, whoa, man, whoa. And they were like, we didn't even blah, blah, blah. And I was like, didn't have to say it like that, but okay, you do you. I was like, that's a lot of information I didn't need to know. It's not my business, but here we are. He'd never really seen much of it, just the grainy coverage of the square on reaping day. It didn't look fit for human habitation. When he asked to be assigned there, When he'd asked to be assigned there, the officer's eyebrows had lifted in surprise. So Coriolanus Snow asked to be peacekeeper of District 12. I think we know why. Well, you don't hear that much, said the officer, but he stamped it through without further discussion. Apparently not everyone had been following the Hunger Games, as he didn't seem to know who Coriolanus was or make any mention of Lucy Gray. All the better. At the moment, anonymity was a condition greatly to be desired. Much of the shame of his situation came from bearing his last name. He burned as he remembered his encounter with Dean Highbottom. Do you hear that, Coriolanus? It's the sound of snow falling. How he hated Dean Highbottom, his bloated face floating above the evidence, the tip of his pen poking at the items on the lab table. This napkin confirmed with your DNA, used to illegally smuggle food from the dining hall into the arena. We picked it up as evidence from the crime scene after the bombing, ran a routine check, and there you were. You were starving her to death, Coriolanus said, his voice crackling. Rather standard procedure in the Hunger Games, but it wasn't so much the feeding, which we overlooked for all the mentors, but the thieving from the academy, strictly forbidden, said Dean Highbottom. I was all for exposing you then, presenting you with another demerit and disqualifying you from the games, but Dr. Gall felt that you were more use as a martyr for the cause of the wounded capital. So instead we had your recording bellowing out the anthem while you recuperated in the hospital. Then why are you bringing it up now? Coriolanus asked. Only to establish a pattern of behavior. The pen tapped the silver rose next. Now, this compact. How many times did I see your mother pull it from her handbag to check her face? Your pretty, vapid mother, who somehow convinced herself that your father would give her freedom and love. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, as they say. She wasn't, was all Coriolanus managed. Vapid was what he meant. Only her youth excused her, and she really seemed fated to be a child forever, just the opposite of your girl, Lucy Gray. 16 going on 35, and a hard 35 at that, observed Dean Highbottom. She gave you the compact? Coriolanus's heart dropped at the thought. Oh, don't blame her. The peacekeepers had to wrestle the thing to the ground to get it. Naturally, we do a thorough search of the victors when they leave the arena. The dean cocked his head and smiled. So smart about how she poisoned Wovey and Reaper. Not really fair play, but what's to be done? Sending her back to District 12 seems punishment enough. She said the rat poison was all her idea, and that the compact had just been a token. It's true, said Coriolanus. It was, a token of my affection. I don't know anything about the poison. All right, let's say I believe you, which I don't, but let's say I do. Then what am I to make of this? And Dean Highbottom lifted the handkerchief with the tip of his pen. One of the lab assistants found this in the snake tank yesterday morning. Everyone was baffled at first, checking their pockets to see if their own hankies had gone astray, because who else had been near the mutts? One young fellow actually claimed it himself, saying his allergies had been particularly bad and that he had misplaced his handkerchief only a day before. But just as he was offering his resignation, someone noticed the initials, not yours, not your father's, so delicately stitched into the corner. CXS. Stitched in the same white thread as the border, part of the border pattern, really, so unassuming that you'd have to look carefully for it, but it was irrefutably there. Coriolanus never bothered to examine his daily handkerchief. He just stuffed one of them into his pocket and headed out. There would have been a slim chance of denying the charge if the middle name hadn't been so distinctive. Xanthos, the only name that Coriolanus ever knew that began with an X. The only person who carried it was his father, Crassus Xanthos Snow. There was no need to ask about the DNA test, which Dean Highbottom had surely run, finding both his and Lucy Gray's signature. All right, so then why haven't you made this public? Oh, believe me, I was tempted. But the Academy,
when expelling a student, has a tradition of offering them a lifeline, the dean explained. As an alternative to public disgrace, you may join the peacekeepers by the end of today. But why would I do that? I mean, why would I say that I would do that when I just won the Plinth Prize to go to university? He stammered. Who knows? Because you're just that kind of patriot, perhaps? Because you believe learning to defend your country is better education than a whole lot of book knowledge. Dean Highbottom then began laughing. Because the Hunger Games changed you, and you're going where you can best serve Panem. You're a clever young man, Coriolanus. I'm sure you'll think of something. But I... His head swam with Posca and adrenaline. Why? Why do you hate me so much? He blurted out. I thought you were my father's friend. The dean sobered then. I thought I was too, once. But it turned out I was only someone he liked because he could use them. Even now. But he's dead now. He's been dead for years, cried Coriolanus, and he deserves to be. But he seems very much alive in you. The dean made a shooting motion. Better hurry. The office closes in, 20 minutes. If you run, you can probably make it. And so he'd run, not knowing what else to do. After he enlisted, he made straight for the Citadel, hoping to throw himself on Dr. Gall's mercy. He was denied entrance, even when he pleaded infected stitches. The peacekeepers phoned down the lab and were told to redirect him to the hospital. One of the guards took pity on him and agreed to try to get his final paper to Dr. Gall. No promises. In the margins, he started to scribble a note begging for her to intercede, but felt the pointlessness of the thing. He merely wrote, "Thank you." For what, he didn't know, but he refused to let her feed on his desperation. On the walk home, the congratulations from neighbors went like daggers to his heart, but the real agony began when he entered the apartment to sounds of tiny horns and cheers. Tigress and the grandmama had gotten out the party favors that they used to celebrate the New Year, and they had bought a bakery cake for the occasion. He attempted a weak smile and then burst into tears, and then he told them everything. And when he finished, they both became calm and still, like a pair of marble statues. "When do you leave?" asked Tigress. "Tomorrow morning," he said. "And when will you be back?" asked the grandmama. He couldn't bear to say 20 years. She would never last that long. If he ever saw her again, it would probably be in the mausoleum. "I don't know," he said. And she nodded that she understood, and then she drew herself up in her chair. "Remember, Coriolanus, that wherever you go, you will always be a snow. No one can take that from you." He wondered if that wasn't the problem, the impossibility of being a snow in this post-war world, what it had driven him to do, but he only said, "Yeah, I'll try to be worthy of it one day." And Tigress rose. "Come on, Corio, I'll help you pack." He followed her to his room. She hadn't cried. He knew that she would try to hold in her tears until he left. Not much to pack. They said to wear old clothes, things that they would throw out. They provide all our uniforms, hygiene, everything. I can only bring personal items that fit into this. And Coriolanus pulled out a box 8 by 12 inches and about 3 inches deep from his book bag. His cousin stared at it for a long moment. "Well, what will you take?" asked Tigress. "You must make it count." Photographs of his mother holding him as a toddler, of his father in uniform, of Tigress and the grandmama, of a few of his friends, an old compass with a brass body which had been his father's, the disc of rose-scented powder that had once lived in his mother's silver compact, wrapped carefully in his orange silk scarf, 3 handkerchiefs, stationery with the Snow family seal, his academy ID, a ticket stub from a childhood circus stamped with an image of the arena, a chip of marble from the rubble of a bombing. He felt for all the world like Ma Plinth with her handful of District 2 memories tucked away in her kitchen. Neither of them slept. They went up to the roof and stared out at the Capitol until the sun began to rise. "You were set up to fail," said Tigress. "The Hunger Games are an unnatural, vicious punishment. How could a good person like you be expected to go along with them?" You mustn't say that to anyone but me. It isn't safe for you to say that, Coriolanus warned. I know, she said, and that's wrong too. Coriolanus showered and dressed with a fraying pair of uniform pants and a threadbare t-shirt and broken flip-flops, and then drank a cup of tea in the kitchen. He kissed the grandmama goodbye and took one last look at his home before heading out. In the hall, Tigress offered him an old sun hat and a pair of sunglasses that had been her father's. Here, for the trip. Coriolanus recognized a disguise when he saw it and gratefully put them on, tucking his curls up under the hat. They remained silent as they walked through the largely deserted streets to the recruitment center, and then he turned to her, his voice raspy from emotion. I've left you with everything to deal with. The apartment, the taxes, Grandmama. I'm sorry, and if you never forgive me, I will understand. Nothing to forgive, she said. Right as soon as you can. They hugged so tightly that it felt several stitches pop on his arm. And then he marched to the center where 300 or so of the capital's citizens milled around, waiting to embark on their new life. He felt a flicker of hope that he might fail his physical, and then maybe a flare of panic at the thought, what awaited him if he did fail? A public dressing down? Prison? Dean Highbottom hadn't said, but he had to imagine the worst. He passed easily as they took out his stitches without comment. The buzz cut that separated him from his signature curls left him feeling naked, but looking so altered that the few curious glances he'd been receiving stopped entirely. He changed into spanking new fatigues and received a duffel bag filled with additional clothing, a hygiene kit, a water bottle, and a packet of meat spread sandwiches for the train trip. And then he signed a stack of forms, one of which directed them to send half of his small paycheck back to Tigress and the grandmama. That provided him a scrap of consolation. Shorn, costumed, and vaccinated, Coriolanus joined a busload of recruits going to the train station. It was a mix of boys and girls from the capital, mostly recent graduates from the secondary schools whose commencement fell earlier than the academies. Burying himself in the corner of the station, he watched Capital News, dreading a report of his predicament, but he only saw the standard Saturday fare. Weather, traffic rerouted for reconstruction, a recipe for a summer vegetable salad. It was as if the Hunger Games had never happened. I'm being erased, he thought. And to erase me, they have to erase the whole games? Who knew of his disgrace? The faculty? His friends, maybe? No one had contacted him. Perhaps word had not gotten out, but it would. People would speculate, rumors would fly. A version of the truth that was twisted and juicy would win the day. Oh, how Livia Cardew would gloat about this one. Clemencia would get the Plinth Prize at graduation, and in the month of summer break, they would all wonder about him. A few might even miss him. Festus, Lysistrata, maybe. In September, his classmates would begin university, and he would slowly be forgotten. To erase the games would be to erase Lucy Gray as well, but where was she? Had she really been sent back home? Was she at this moment returning to District 12 locked in a stinking cattle car that had brought her to the capital? That's what Dean Highbottom had indicated would happen. But the ultimate decision would be Dr. Gall's, and she might not be so forgiving about their cheating. Under her direction, Lucy Gray might be imprisoned or killed or turned into an AVOX, or even worse, sentenced to a life of experimentation in Dr. Gall's horrible lab. Remembering he was on the train, Coriolanus shut his eyes, afraid that tears might come. It would never do to be seen bawling like a baby, so he wrestled his emotions back under control. He calmed himself with the idea that returning Lucy Gray to District 12 might be the best strategy for the capital anyway. Perhaps as time passed, Dr. Gall might produce her again, especially if he was well out of the way. Maybe they'd have her come back and sing to kick off the games. Her crimes, if there were any, were minor compared to his. The audience had loved her, hadn't they? Perhaps her charms would save her once again, and every so often the train would stop and vomit out more recruits, either at their destination district or for transfer to transports headed north or south or wherever they had been assigned. Sometimes he stared out the window at the dead cities they now passed, abandoned to the elements, wondering what the world had been like when they had seen all their glory. Back when this had been North America, not Panem. It must have been fine, a land full of capitals. Such waste. Ooh, that hurts to hear. Ooh. Around midnight, the compartment door slid open and 2 girls bound for District 8 fell in with a half-gallon of Posca that they'd somehow smuggled onto the train. Times being what they were, he spent the night helping them consume it, and then awoke a full day later to find the train pulling into District 12 as a sultry Tuesday morning dawned. Coriolanus stumbled onto the platform with a throbbing head and a sandpaper mouth. Following orders, he and 3 other recruits formed a line and waited an hour for a peacekeeper who didn't look much older than them to lead them out of the train station through the gritty streets. The heat and the humidity turned the air to a state of half in between liquid and gas, and he could not confirm if he was inhaling or exhaling. Moisture bathed his body with an unfamiliar sheen that defied wiping away. Sweat didn't dry, it only deepened. Not yet. His nose ran freely, the snot already tinged black with coal dust, his socks squished in his stiff boots. After an hour's trek down the cinder and cracked asphalt streets lined with hideous buildings, they arrived at the base that was to be his new home. The security fence enclosed the base as well as the armed peacekeepers at the gate, and they made him feel less exposed. The recruits followed their guide through an assortment of nondescript gray buildings. At the barricade, the 2 girls peeled off while he and the only other new male recruit, a tall, thin boy named Junius, were directed to a room lined with 4 sets of bunk beds and 8 lockers. 2 of the bunks were neatly made, and 2 remaining placed near a smeared window that looked out onto a dumpster. It had stacks of bedding on them. The boys clumsily followed the instructions for making up the beds, Coriolanus taking the top bunk in deference to Junius's fear of heights. And then they were given the rest of the morning to shower, unpack, and review the peacekeeper training manual before reporting to the mess hall at lunch at 11. Coriolanus stood in the shower, head back, gulping down the lukewarm water that flowed from the tap. He toweled off 3 times before he accepted the dampness of his skin as a perpetual state and dressed in clean fatigues. After unpacking his duffel and tucking his precious box at the top shelf of his locker, he climbed onto his bed and perused the peacekeeper manual. Or he pretended to anyway, to avoid conversation with Junius, a nervous fellow who needed reassurance that Coriolanus was ill-positioned to give. What he wanted to say was, "Well, your life is over, young Junius, accept it." But that seemed likely to bring on more confidences and he lacked the energy to field them. The sudden absence of responsibility in his life, to his studies, to his family, to his very future, had sapped out his strength. Even the tiniest of tasks seemed daunting now. A few minutes before 11, their bunkmates, a talkative round-faced boy named Smiley and his diminutive buddy, Bug, collected them. The quartet headed to the mess hall, which held long tables lined with cracked plastic chairs. "Tuesday means hash," said Smiley, and although he'd been a peacekeeper for barely a week, he seemed to not only know, but to revel in the routine. Coriolanus collected a slotted tray featuring something that resembled dog food, studded with potatoes. Hunger and the enthusiasm of his comrades emboldened him, so he tried a bit and found the stuff quite edible, if heavily salted. He also received 2 canned pear halves and a big mug of milk. It wasn't elegant, but it was filling. He realized that as a peacekeeper, he was unlikely to starve. In fact, he'd been guaranteed more consistent food than he'd ever had access to at home. Smiley declared them all fast friends, and by the end of lunch, Coriolanus and Junius had been dubbed Gent and Beanpole, respectively, one by way of table manners and the other because of his frame. Coriolanus welcomed the nickname because the last thing he wanted to hear was the name Snow. None of his bunkmates commented on it, though, or made any mention of the Hunger Games. It turned out that the enlisted only had access to 1 television in the rec room, and the reception proved so poor that it was barely ever on. If Beanpole had seen Coriolanus in the capital, he hadn't made mention of the connection between the Hunger Games mentor and the grunt beside him. Perhaps no one had recognized him because no one expected him to be there, or perhaps his celebrity had only extended to the academy and a handful of unemployed in the capital who had time to follow the drama. Coriolanus relaxed enough to admit to a military father killed in the war and a grandmother and a cousin back at home, and school having ended the previous week. To his surprise, he discovered that Smiley and Bug, as well as many of the other peacekeepers, were not capital at all. but district-born. Ah, sure, said Smiley. Peacekeeping's good work if you can get it. Better than mill work. Lots of food and money enough to send back to my folks at home. Some people sneer at it, but I say the war's history, and hey, a job's a job. So you don't mind policing your own people? Coriolanus kept asking. Oh, these aren't my people. My people are in 8. They don't leave you where you were born, said Smiley with a shrug. Besides, you're my family now, Jen. Coriolanus got introduced to more of his new family that afternoon when he was assigned to kitchen detail. Under the guidance of Cookie, an old soldier who'd lost his left ear in the war, he stripped to the waist and stood over a sink of steaming water for a few hours, scrubbing pots and hosing off metal trays. Then he was allowed 15 minutes to eat another round of hash before he spent the next few hours mopping the mess halls and hallways. He had about half an hour back in his room before the lights went out at 9, and he collapsed into bed in his undershorts. By 5 the next morning, he was dressed and on the field to begin training in earnest. The first stage was designed to bring the new troops to an acceptable level of fitness. He squatted and sprinted and did drills until his clothes were sodden and his heels were blistered. Professor Sickles' instructions served him well. She'd always insisted on rigorous exercise, and he'd been marching in formation since he was 12. Beanpole, on the other hand, with his 2 left feet and his concave chest, had the drill sergeant baiting and abusing him by turns. That night, Coriolanus drifted off to sleep. He could hear the boy trying to stifle sobs with his pillow. That's really sad. Blocks of training, eating, cleaning, sleeping made up his new life. He moved through them mechanically, but with enough competence to avoid reproach. If he was lucky, he had a precious half-hour to himself before lights out at night. Not that he accomplished anything. It was all he could do to shower and climb into his bunk. The thought of Lucy Gray tormented him. It was tricky getting information about her. If he went around the base asking questions, someone might figure out his role in the games, and he wanted to avoid that at all costs. The squad's designated day off was Sunday, and their duties ended Saturday at 5. As new recruits, they were confined to the base until the following weekend, and then Coriolanus planned to go into town and surreptitiously ask the locals about Lucy Gray. Smiley said the peacekeepers hung out at a local old coal warehouse they called the Hob. The Hob. Where you could purchase homemade liquor and buy yourself some company. The Hob. District 12 had a small town square as well, the same one used for the reaping, and a smattering of small shops and tradespeople, but that was more active in the daytime. Except for Beanpole, who'd pulled latrine duty in his shortcomings, his bunkmates headed to the rec room to play poker that Saturday after dinner. Coriolanus lingered over his noodles and canned meat in the mess hall. Since Smiley was usually distracting all of them with his prattle, it was the first time he'd really had to take stock of the other peacekeepers. They ranged in age from late teens to one old man who looked like he could be the grandmama's contemporary. Some chatted among themselves, but most of them sat in silence, depressed, sucking down their noodles. He was looking, he wondered, maybe, at his future? Coriolanus opted to spend his evening in the barracks. Having left his last coin with his family, he would have no money for gambling, not even pocket change, until he was paid on the 1st of the month. More importantly, he had received a letter from Tigris that he wanted to read in private. He soaked in the solitude and the freedom and sight and sound and smell of his comrades. Altogether, it overwhelmed him, and he was used to ending his days alone, so he climbed into his bunk and he carefully opened his letter. My dearest Corio, it's Monday night right now, and the apartment echoes with your absence. The grandmama doesn't quite seem to know what's going on, as twice today she'd ask when you'd be home and should we have dinner. Word of your situation has begun to spread. I went to see Pluribus, and he said he'd heard any number of rumors, that you'd followed Lucy Gray out to 12 out of love, that you'd gotten drunk celebrating and signed up on a dare, that you'd broken the rules and sent gifts to Lucy Gray in the arena yourself, and that you had some kind of falling out with Dean Highbottom. I tell people that you're doing your duty to your country just as your father did. Festus, Persephone, and Lysistrata came by this evening, all very concerned about you, and Mrs. Flint, she called to get your address. I think she means to write to you. Our apartment is officially going on the market now, thanks to help from the Doolittles. Pluribus says that if we can find a place immediately, he has a couple of spare rooms. Sorry, if we can't find a place immediately, he has a couple of spare rooms that we could use above the club, and that maybe I can help out with costumes if he reopens it. He's also placed several pieces of our furniture with the buyers. He's been very kind, and he says that he sends you his regards, and Lucy Gray too. Have you been able to see her yet? That's the one sweet spot in all this madness. I'm sorry this is so short, but it's quite late, and I've got a lot to do. I just wanted to get something off to remind you how much you're loved and missed, and I know how hard things must be, but please don't lose hope. It sustained us all through the darkest times, and it will do so now. Please write and tell us of your life in 12. It may not seem ideal, but who knows where it might lead you. SLOT, Tigress. It's crazy to see how he's in this book compared to... I know, and that's like the most hurtful thing, I think, Avery, about the whole thing is, like I said yesterday, knowing that it could have, like, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. You know what I mean? Like, what path are you taking when you come to a crossroad? You know? Like, it's so crazy to think about. It's so crazy. Coriolanus buried his face in his hands, the capital making a mockery of the Snow name, the grandmama losing her mind, their home a pair of shabby rooms above a nightclub where Tigress stitched sequined unitards. Was this the fate of the magnificent Snow family? And what of him, Coriolanus Snow, the future president of Panem? Yeah, his life, tragic and pointless, unspooled before him. He saw himself in 20 years' time grow stout and stupid, the breeding beaten out of him, his mind atrophied to the point where nothing but base animal thoughts of hunger and sleep crossed it. Lucy Gray, having languished in Dr. Gall's lab, would be long dead, and his heart would be dead with her. 20 wasted years, and then what? When his time had been served, why, he'd probably just re-enlist because even the humiliation would be too great, and what would await him in the capital if he did return? The grandmama passed on. Tigress is middle-aged then, but seems older, sewing away her servitude, her kindness transformed into insipidity, her existence a joke to those that she had pleased to earn her keep. No, he would never return. He would stay on in 12 like that all men in the mess hall had, because this was his life. No partner, no children, no address but the barracks. The other peacekeepers were his family, Smiley, Bug, Beanpole, his band of brothers, and he'd never seen anyone from home again. Never, ever. I saw at some point he'd actually think of doing the right thing for his thoughts to go in the other direction. And when yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, right? For everybody. I really want to know how it goes from this, what we see in the first book. I know, it's crazy. We're getting there. A terrible pain clutched his chest as a toxic weight of homesickness and despair swamped him. He felt sure that he was having a heart attack, but made no attempt to call for help. Instead, he curled into a ball and pressed his face against the wall. Perhaps it was for the best, because there was no one out there, no one to run, no hope of rescue, no future that was not a living death. What did he have to look forward to? Hash? A weekly cup of gin? A promotion from dishwashing to dish scraping? Wasn't it better to just die now quickly than drag it out painfully for years? Somewhere, it seemed very distant, he heard a door banging shut. Footsteps came down the hall, pausing for a minute and then continuing toward him. He gritted his teeth, willing his heart to stop at once, because the world, and he had finished it with the other, He gritted his teeth, willing his heart to stop at once, because the world and he had finished with each other. World and he had finished with each other, and it was time for them to part ways. Sorry, that was a hard sentence to read. But the footsteps grew louder and came to a halt at his door. Was this person looking for him? Was it patrol? Staring at him with this mortifying position, lapping at his wretchedness? He waited long for the derision, the latrine duty that was sure to follow. Instead, he heard a quiet voice say, "Hey, is this bunk taken?" It was a quiet and familiar voice. Coriolanus twisted around on the bed, his eyes flying open to confirm what his ears already knew. Standing in the doorway, looking oddly at home in a set of fatigues still creased from the package, stood Sejanus Plinth. Dun dun dun. Well then. Well then. Woo! And there's Sejanus. What are these two going to get themselves into, I tell you? crazy times up in here. I tell you, District 12 is about to get lit. No, I'm kidding. It is interesting though, right? I do think what everyone's saying, you know, in the comments is really interesting. Like, I think we've talked about this before with other people. It's a total roller coaster. The whole series is a roller coaster, right? It's interesting. I know a lot of people who are either reading this book for the first time right now or rereading it right now, and there's so much going on in our world that is so parallel, and everyone's saying that, not just us, obviously. I mean, like, it doesn't take a genius to read this book and see the parallels, right? But it does make you wonder where that point is for people. You know what I mean? Some people are raised one way or another. Some people find their way on their own, and I think it's all really interesting. It's a study in human nature, psychology, nature versus nurture, all of those things. You know what I mean? It's all very interesting. I was kind of raised both and had to decide my own way because most of my family is one way, but my mom and my stepfather were a different way. So I ended up going with the way the majority of my family is. And I'm thrilled with my decision, obviously. My mom is, now that my stepfather has passed, my mom is slowly kind of coming around a little bit, which I'm grateful for. It's not enough, but it's better than nothing. But apparently it does take a genius because you're right, Lisa. Which is weird. I'm gonna say something that's going to sound very rude. I'm going to say something that's going to sound rude, okay? But it speaks to what Naisa is saying here. There are many states in our country where reading in general, let alone reading comprehension, is, how do I say this politely? Not everyone is taught to read, I guess is what I'm going to say. Not everyone is taught to read. Yeah, you all know what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Ray. I find it crazy how when a district speaks out, Snow would send peacekeepers, right? Yeah. And we see, not existing, yes, Jillian. And Avery's right, and we see that going on now. I live in California, you all know that. I live in Los Angeles, California. I was raised here in California. This is my home. Obviously I lived in New York for a long time, but New York and California think the same pretty much. It's weird, it's all weird. Yeah, it's a weird time. This all being said, there is one small shining light in everything that's going on in California right now and in the rest of the country. Just media literacy. Yeah, media literacy is worse than just regular reading, right? I mean, the fact that I mean, Jillian, we've talked about this before, but the fact that J.K. Rowling was able to write what she wrote, like, the cognitive dissonance is so real. It's crazy to me. But what I was gonna say is the one positive here is that if TRUMP keeps doing what he's doing in regards to California and other blue states and cities, I feel confident saying, and I should never say confident because we know what happened last multiple times. I think Gavin Newsom will be our next president if this road continues. Like, do you guys think I'm crazy to think that? And I can give you like solid basing for why I think that. First of all, he's standing up very strongly. You can think whatever you want of some of his policies. They're not perfect. No one's perfect, but sometimes you take what you can get. But also, here's the thing, and this is going to sound really bad, and I want you all to hear, very strong contender, I want you to hear what I'm saying from the basis of not this is how I want the world to be, but how I recognize that the world is. Gavin Newsom is a tall, good-looking, well-spoken white man. Okay? I'm not saying I want that to be an easy in. You know me. But it is the truth, right? So the reason he has a chance is because he's all of those things. So, like, he's taller, younger, more well-spoken, but they're both white guys. You know what I mean? So, like, the problem that we had last year, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Claire. Like, the problem, and it sucks that this is a problem, but there are so many people still in our country who do not believe that a woman, let alone a black woman, can lead. Obviously, you know, I'm not one of them. My husband and I voted for her very willingly and joyfully. We are not those people, but they're out there and they're plentiful. And there are many people who just do not believe a woman at all can lead. Now, we know how crazy this is, that he, exactly, and I don't want that to need to be the case, but we do need to ease in, right? Like, we have learned that trying to throw something crazy into it, look what's happened. I don't like that this was the outcome, but we tried Hillary, white woman not good enough, black woman not good enough. We got to just go back to the start. We got to back up a little, right? We got Barack. He was great. They all, I mean, phenomenal. 10 out of 10 would vote for him in a third term in a second. My mother, a very registered Republican and I think two-time, not three-time, but two-time TRUMP voter, said out loud, if Obama was allowed to run for a third term, I would vote for him. She said that. That's how good he is. He was that good. Oh, that's exciting, Isabel. It's always fun to be with your siblings. So, like, I would happily, Michelle would never let him run again. You know what I mean? Like, we know that. She's, like, done with all of us, and I don't blame her. But if Barack could run again, Hillary was a uniquely unliked candidate in addition to being correct. Claire is 100% correct. Yes, we'll see you tonight for Roll for Slime. She was uniquely unliked, and then Kamala, despite being uniquely qualified, uniquely intelligent, and everything we would have wanted, it just couldn't happen because our country is too broken. It'll be at 5, I think it's 5:30 tonight. I'm pretty sure it's 5:30 tonight, Lainey, and it's Pride Roll for Slime tonight, which is so exciting. I'm gonna finish putting together all the charms and stuff for that later, but I posted a video yesterday with some of the custom charms. They're very beautiful. So anyway, I guess this is my long-winded way of saying I think it's really interesting that we're reading this right now. I believe everything happens for a reason, and that this is time people needed the time to adjust. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, it's hard for me to mentally absorb that, but I don't disagree with you. We need to ease back, you know. I think that is the case. We need to gently work people back this way, and I think Gavin Newsom is a possibility for that. Again, this is not, I'm not, you know, unlike the other side, I'm not like a waving a Gavin Newsom flag, having a signatured poster on my wall or anything like that. I'm just saying I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Biden thing. Not perfect, but I'll take it, you know? And Newsom, even more than Biden, is at least, I am being realistic, but the one thing that Newsom had that Biden didn't, and I'm not blaming Biden, I think we needed Biden, and I'm happy in certain cases with maintaining status quo, and I think the peace of the 4 years we had with President Biden were godsend. I'm not even religious, but like, good Lord, thank goodness for that man for the short time that we had him, you know? And hoping the best for him in his cancer recovery, if he's able to recover. He's so old, I don't know. But Newsom is younger and more willing to fight forward. So like Biden was like maintain, and that's okay sometimes, but I think Newsom will push us at least a little bit forward. You know what I mean? Because the things we do here in California that are the norm here are not the norm everywhere. And if he can implement even just some of those things in the rest of the country, you know, not even all of it. I'm not even asking for everything at once, like even just one at a time, you know? Anyway, I've babbled enough. You don't need to hear all of this from me. This is not, I mean, it's my page, so I guess in some regards my politics is allowed on the page, but it's not. He's moderate enough to have wide appeal. Yeah, he's just enough over the edge. I agree, Avery. I think there needs to be an upper age limit as well as a lower, or give back the ability to people to make their own freaking choices. I mean, please, please, Ray, you know how I feel about that. You guys, did anyone else like cry this morning over that poor woman who, I mean, and the baby, the woman who they kept alive basically to gestate a baby for it just to be born at 16 weeks? I mean, like, what are we even doing here? She was an incubator for a baby that probably won't survive anyway. Like, if the baby had been 34 weeks, 35 weeks, I would be like, of course, right? 9 weeks? 9 weeks? Come on, guys. Come on. We know what they were doing. You know what I mean? There's levels here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not black and white, and it can't be. You know? Sad. I feel for her family. I really do. It's a cruel thing. It's a cruel thing. It was absolutely an experiment. Oh yeah, this baby's knocked out for sure. It was an experiment, and it was bad. It should never have been done. That baby is going to have lifelong issues because babies are not supposed to be born at that stage. Like, NICU babies have a hard time already, let alone that small. It was 1 pound when it was born, you guys. Babies aren't supposed to be born at 1 pound. That's the size of a kitten. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, they did it just to say they did it. Like, don't play God. You know what I mean? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I am, you know, I have a lot more harsh words that I can't say on here about it. But anyway, 100%, Christy, 100% off topic, but I started my first, oh my gosh, Avery, will you post pictures? Wait, okay, if I ever have free time, did I tell you guys this? Avery, it's on topic because it's about crocheting. If I ever have free time again, which may never happen because whatever, there's 2 crafts that I really want to learn. Crocheting is one of them, and quilling is the other. I want to learn how to quill. You know, like fold, like the rolling paper. My niece was born 2 pounds and she's 28 with 3 children. That's amazing, Lainey. That's amazing and so rare. Absolutely amazing. But I hope that was her parents' choice. You know what I mean? Like that this is a different situation, you know. You learned specifically for this. When is your niece going to be born, Avery? Very exciting. Maybe, I don't know, is it like soon enough that it's like at the same time as my well, okay, I think I'm getting a nephew. They won't tell me if it's a girl or a boy, but I'm pretty sure it's a boy. I just had, early October. Oh no, you have way longer than me. It's gonna be like 1 month until my new nibbling is born. I think it's a boy. They won't tell us, but we were allowed to guess, and we were allowed to guess on the due date. So I did pick my day. I think it's gonna be born July 24th, and I think he's a boy. I don't know for sure, obviously. This is a real baby. Yes, this is my child. I popped this one out personally. Yeah. Probably shouldn't say things like that. Yes, it's a baby. I know people say that all the time, Lexi, but you know what? My demo doll for baby wearing is crocheted and not human colored, so you never have to be confused whether it's, so my baby is human colored, my crochet doll is blue. So you don't have to worry. I guess that my niece was going to be a girl and it was right. You had a feeling. I have a feeling too, but also, okay, I think I told you guys this. I think my brother slipped, right? I think I told you guys this. Like, I had a feeling already that it was a boy, but then he said something to me that really made it feel like it was a boy. And I was like, is he trying to tell me? I don't know. I think he slipped. Hey, Victoria, how are you? So that's why I'm like emboldened in my decision. Wait, Carrie and wait, who's Carrie? Wait, did I miss something? I love this wrap too. This is our perma, for sure. I went to the store when my daughter was a newborn. Everyone thought she was a baby. Yeah, I get that, Lexi. Oh, the fake baby. Oh, no, the fake baby is named Jamantha, Ray. That's why I was confused. That's Jamantha Borax Graceland III. Thank you so much for getting his name right, Ray. Jamantha Borax Graceland III. I did wear him in my class yesterday, actually. Yes, I decided on the winning name just emotionally. Good pouting because I had to go to work after being told he didn't. Oh, hey, listen, work is better than the alternative, am I right? Considering. Where did you get your baby wrap from? This one is a Lenny Lamb. Yeah, this is a Lenny, oops. This is a Lenny Lamb, and it's a second, which is what their term is for like anything that's not 100% cosmetically perfect. I can't find any issues with it, so it was cheaper. Yeah, JB is great. Actually, I love that. Can we call him JB? That's easier than having to say the whole name. So I don't know what the cosmetic imperfection that they're claiming there is on this was, but it was cheaper as a result. You can use it until 35 pounds, which is, I mean, she's not gonna be 35 pounds for probably a year and a half at least, right? I mean, she's barely 13 pounds right now, so I've got a long time to go. But the thing about it is I love this wrap so much, and this is gonna sound crazy to all of you. I'm considering buying a second one of this exact same one if they're still listed, because I'm like having a mental panic attack of like, what if something happens to this wrap? What if I accidentally misplace it? What if we're out somewhere and it gets left at a restaurant? Like, I'm like in a panic about it because I'm so in love with this wrap. So like there's a part of me, and it like, it's not, it's a little bit of a, it would be a little bit of a splurge to have a second one, but like, what if something happens? What if it gets caught on something and it like rips? I mean, I'm in a panic about it. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't made the decision yet, but like we're so in, this is like our everyday wrap, so I wouldn't be able to live without it. For my mental health, yeah, literally though, right? And I'm just gonna like never use it, just like fold it up and put it in the closet until, yeah, it's like a backup blankie. Exactly. Jillian, you're 100% right. Because like she even acts differently in this one than other ones because it's our everyday. Ray, who I don't know if you guys, of course you guys have seen it. You know, the blue and like black and gray, like long woven wrap that I wear, that was a gift from Ray. And that's our other like perma never getting rid of wrap, because it's her other comfort wrap. Like she falls asleep so much faster in these two than in anything else. The others are all great. I love them all, don't get me wrong. But these two are like, we use them the most, and there are like workhorses, you know? My daughter's a year now and I have one that clips and buckles. What kind is it, Lexi? Do you know the name of it? The clips and buckles have their place, but I usually use those for like a theme park or the aquarium or going to the museum or something like that. I use soft ones, wraps and slings for pretty much everything else, especially around the house or like the grocery store. You could definitely put a baby a year old in one of these, for sure. For sure you could. And more, you know what I mean? Actually, one of the woven wraps I have, last week I wrapped my niece who just turned 4. She's 44 pounds. You can go, you know, up to about 45. Well, actually I think in woven wraps you can go further, but I put her in there. Yeah, why not, Lexi? Why not? I mean, if you don't like it, they have a pretty high resale value on like Facebook Marketplace and whatever, so, you know. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna go because I have to get to work because we have Roll for Slime tonight. It's so hard to carry them on their hip as you Yeah, well, this you can shift over for a hip carry as well. That said, Lexi, you might find that you like a back carry. I find that when I wear her on my back, I have a lot less strain. You know what I mean? Like she's not even heavy, but like I do a lot of like physical work because of my job, and putting her on my back has saved the day a ton of times. And you have a 1-year-old. 1-year-old should be really easy to get up on your back. It's a little harder to get a smaller baby up there, but you can. Give it a try, you know? Anyway, I think it's great. I love it. So I will see you all tonight for Roll for Slime Pride Night. It's a full house. There are still spots in the group, but there are no solo spots left. Ray, I don't think I know what you want for this month. Ray, did you get a Roll for Slime last month? I might owe you 2 Roll for Slimes. I'm not 100% sure, but you and I can talk about it. And I don't know if your kiddos want to do like Disney Blind Box, or if any of them want to do Pride ones or whatever like that. You're definitely owed stuff. So that's the whole kit and caboodle, and I will see you all tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Lexi, if you have any further questions about any of these things, I posted a video where people can post questions about this kind of stuff yesterday, and someone wanted me to go through like all the different types of carriers I have and show them. And because I'm learning how to teach about these, you know, for my own sake, I can do that. Is there a Disney Roll for Slime this week? I think so. I think Thursday is Disney Roll for Slime again. My mom brought a whole bunch more. Avery, I think we have like 20 more, you know? So, and Jane is going tomorrow to Disneyland, is going to pick us up even more. So that's exciting. I will see you all tonight. 2 nights of Roll for Slime in a row. Bye, guys.